Hey, all you space cats. Welcome to the Black Hole Podcast, Season 7, Episode 37. I'm your host, Mitch Miller, presidential candidate, the most neutral human being in the world, the most transparent candidate you'll find. I'm a free market entrepreneur, and I might possibly be the most underground artist in the world, so buy some of that art, please. Help support this podcast, help support my investigations and my programs and websites that I'm trying to launch. So I was a wrestler. I was a wrestler since age 5. The sport wrestling, scholastic wrestling. It's a point system. It's not the big Hollywood wrestling, the fake wrestling that they put on TV. This is an actual sport. Traces back to the first Olympics, to Greece, ancient sport. Scholastic wrestling, I wrestled all the way up through high school. I did not wrestle in college. But this is an individual sport, right? You use balance and strategy in the second. You learn moves, you pre-learn moves, and then you deploy them in a live situation. You have gymnastics, another individual sport, where gymnastics is actually fully transparent. They explain the moves that are going to be performed before they're performed, and then the athlete tries to perform those maneuvers. So they're the most transparent sport, probably. And then you have sports like football and basketball, probably the most popular sports in the United States. These sports are team sports, and they require a secret plays or a secret playbook, right? That's the strategy behind these sports. And when you teach athletes, young people, that in order to compete on a team, you need a secret playbook, secret plays, it carries over into corporations and corporate America, right? Now, corporations could be transparent. Very transparent, almost entirely transparent, instead of operating in secret like our military. And I believe a free market, capitalist, democratic society should be as transparent as possible. So these corporations could be transparent. We don't need trade secrets, non-disclosure agreements, and no-compete contracts. We don't need any of that. If these corporations just came around to being transparent, they could just be transparent and market to the public in a transparent way. Here's how much we spend on labor. Here's how much we spend on materials. Here's how much we spend that goes towards a pension for our employees. And here's how much we spend on executive pay, right? And you market that to the public. We're transparent. This is what it costs to make that item, that product. This is how we budget it, and we're being open and transparent about it. If corporations use the money they spend on spying or corporate spies, if they use that money, they could, instead of using it for spying and corporate spies, they could look into competitors' use of slave labor here in the United States and all over the globe. They could show, here's the cost of living in this nation, and here's how much this company pays its employees or contracts with an employer to get the products it needs to make its final product. So here's how much slave labor this corporation uses. And they could these corporations could bring that to the attention of the public, right? But then they would have to stop using slave labor themselves, and we build a whole corporate system that relies on slave labor, and it's probably been this way since modern civilization began, right? So if a corporate executive really wanted to change things, they could stop paying for corporate spies, corporate spying programs, and just do a deep dive, send independent investigators into these factories and say, here's how much slave labor our competitor uses. Here's how much we use. Here's what we spend to bring the product to you. and you make your choice accordingly. What you think is important. Is pension for employees important? Is employee compensation important, or is executive pay important to you? All right, so back to the celebrity trolls and scammers. I forgot to bring up one that's been around for a long time on my DMs, Lucy Liu. Or how could I forget Lucy Liu, the beautiful and talented Lucy Liu. She contacted me through Twitter on multiple Lucy Liu accounts on Twitter, back when it was still Twitter, so a year and a half, 2 years ago. Direct messaged me. Those accounts have disappeared now. I did not capture those in screenshots, but she recently contacted me through Facebook, which I did capture. And then we transitioned to, I think, Telegram, where she proceeded to ask me to buy her a gift card. It was for her son so that he can play his video game. So, Lucy, if you'd like to see that, I'm available. Also contacted recently by Jennifer Hudson. So, that's the update on the celebrity trolls. All right, so I know it's an unnatural concept if you've been conditioned by the media of the United States. State media, a state media department, to actually fight communism. Right? They say state media is a communist institution, and it can never and should never exist in the United States, but it's in our actual Constitution. So for those of you that took an oath to uphold the Constitution, you can find this provision in the Constitution, and it should have been brought about hundreds of years ago, or at least 50 to 60 years ago, as media progressed. Just think of if we had one government channel, what it would do for recalls, food recalls, any recalls, right? You can tune in at whatever time, at 7 o'clock at night, and see all the recalls in the United States, right? This is information for the public. And not everyone can read. Not everybody has access to email for these corporations to send out emails about their recalls. You could tune in to one government channel, see all the recalls for public safety. This is for public safety. Why this was not deployed years ago is beyond me. Just proves that everyone's brainwashed. Think of all the money that the government spends on ad campaigns. The anti-drug ad campaigns, other ad campaigns to inform the public. Going through the big three media companies and spending taxpayer dollars to put out commercials. Billions, trillions of dollars spent on ad campaigns over the past 50 years. And they could have used that to just create one government channel that explains what the law means, what the law is, what you will be arrested for. Instead they use this money, these taxpayer money, for these ad campaigns on the big three media companies. The big three love it. They don't want a government channel, right? Because they get all that ad revenue. Because the government feels a responsibility to inform the public, and they have to go through this corporate communist media system to try to inform them. And it only reaches not even a huge percentage of people that tune in. If we took all that money they spent on ad campaigns in the past 50 years and used that to create a state media department, that's all I'm proposing, right? Even if we took what they spend a year, what state, federal government spends on ad campaigns in a year to form the budget for this. So I know they're going to light it up all over the place for proposing a state media department, but it's in the Constitution. It's not communist unless it's propaganda for the government and for the oligarchs. if it's in the charter that we will be critical of the government from a neutral standpoint to make the government better and more intelligent, more efficient. And again, we would vote on venturing anywhere beyond just covering the Congress. We would vote on these things. But look, there's documentaries and stuff. We have a whole slew of democracies in Europe that try different strategies and programs, and you see them pop up on your social media and you say, that's a really good idea. Why don't we do that here? Well, we could publish the in-depth details of these programs and how effective they are. We need to learn from other democracies, not bury them so that we don't try new things here that can improve people's lives. All right, I want to talk about a popular slogan in this country, in the United States: save money, live better. And I ask you this, are you really living better if everything you own is designed to be garbage in 3 to 5 years? Is that really living better? Right? Think about owning a house. It's unreachable for many reasons, and one of those reasons is because of planned obsolescence of appliances and critical systems like furnace, air conditioning. These things break down and you're replacing them just when you think you're getting ahead. Your fridge goes, your washing machine goes, your dryer, your toaster. Right? If you rent, all that stuff is covered. And these corporations, these executives, now we have corporate landlords and corporations owning individual family homes and stuff. They don't want you to own a house. They want you to rent. Right? They don't want the population to own a house, because then you might say something crazy like, we don't want you transmitting wireless waves through our house. We pay property taxes. I shouldn't have to line my walls with lead to keep you from transmitting wireless waves through my living area and through my brain and my body. Right? You might say something crazy like this. If you do want to transmit through my house, through my property, then I want all sporting events that you televise within 100 miles of where I live and 100 miles of my city to be free. I want them to come to my television for free, whether wirelessly or through the cable. I want it free. That's the cost of transmitting your wireless waves through my house. If you want to recoup the cost of televising these events, export them to other markets. There's fans in all the different markets that aren't within 100 miles of here, and recoup the cost. Or better yet, just use the advertising dollars to pay for what it costs to televise the event. I know it's crazy, but as I said, it's a dual revenue stream. You pay for subscriptions, and they also get money from advertising. Let's just use the advertising to pay for this. All right, I'm going to close on something I would do as president. We have government employees, and these are mostly union jobs. They're probably entirely all union jobs, and they are notoriously hard to fire government employees, right? I believe in a more intelligent government, a more efficient government, and possibly a smaller government with the help of technology and intelligence. So as president, I would develop an online system, right? A secure online system where co-workers in government departments can review each other. So when it comes up for the job review time, a survey, a questionnaire goes out to every government employee in that office, in that department. Every coworker that works side by side with the person up for review, they review that person, and then they can vote whether to end that person's employment. Right? So the office votes anonymously on whether that person should have their employment ended. So that's how we get rid of these inefficient government employees, this bureaucracy. It's a true direct democratic way of handling this. You're reviewing coworkers. And look, it's not going to be like Survivor. People take their job seriously. And if someone has a sick parent and their coworkers know about it and they're not being as efficient as possible because they're preoccupied with taking care of their spouse who has cancer or something, that's all going to factor into these. That's all going to factor into these reviews, right? But if someone is legitimately just a bad worker, there should be an avenue to eliminate that person from the workforce in the government and get a better, more efficient someone in that position. So that's my proposal as president, to make the government a better, more directly democratic system. And this could be expanded. We could make this available for small businesses, this platform, this online portal, this system. We could make it available for free for small business in the United States, where, as I proposed in my bar/tavern proposal, that these small businesses can manage themselves through direct democracy. Co-workers can vote people off the island, right? Now, in the service sector, it might get a little bit like Survivor, but I guarantee you, in the government offices where people are getting paid a decent wage, there's going to be, it's a system that's going to work. So that's what I propose as president, developing this voting system for reviewing employees. And corporations should already do this. Maybe they do, but, just putting that out there. So thanks for listening. And until next time, I wish you peace, prosperity, and homeostasis.